Welcome to the Bobby Carpenter Show. Excited to be here with you on this nice little bye week Friday, Schlegs. It's the freaking weekend. It's exciting to be here. We got a lot of great college football this weekend. Now, not the Buckeyes, which is good. They got the bye week. They got that off, so that'll be solid for them to be able to get a little R&R in, get a little relaxation, and be able to chill a little bit. What are your plans? Well, first of all, we got Ben Hartsock coming up here in about 10 to 12 minutes. He's going to hop on. We got our headlines. So we might have to hit like multiple segments of Tailgate Talk where we answer the questions because, I mean, Coach, we're off the chain. I love
it. I love it. Off the Tuesday. You know 2 Chainz has a cookbook? That's right.
Well, did you know I gave 2 Chainz the second chain? He only had one first. I gave
really?
him second. Yeah.
That's nice. That was nice of you. No, what
are
you doing? Hey. So it's AJ's party tonight. That's tomorrow night. Is that tomorrow night, right?
Saturday night. So
that's what's today? Friday? Yeah. Boom. And then we got Ben Hartsock. He's a motorboating son of a gun. He has a huge mobile home. Super nice. What is your costume, Bob? Because I'm excited to hear about this.
Honestly, I'm not quite sure.
Oh, you don't know yet?
Court's head costume. She's head of our operations for Halloween. You know, we have a little Halloween soiree. You know, we've got AJ's big event, like Hawk's Scary Freak Out Night. A very A Diddy
for weekend. The kids, though. For the kids, it's for the kids. We're raising money.
It's all about AJ's all about the kids, so it's a very A Diddy weekend. A Jitty, I guess you could say, for the kids. Get that going out there.
What you're saying is you don't have a costume.
I think I do. Courtney, we've got a box of costumes that we've had over the years that I could go back to.
Cosplay.
I'm not sure exactly what. Yeah, and sometimes Schlegs, you pop those costumes out on a random Saturday night in August. Like, there's all kinds of opportunities there. I was thinking about going as like a 14-year-old Justin Bieber, like get the trucker hat sideways, you'll get a little deal, and then have like 4 or 5 bottles of Johnson & Johnson with me. Just hanging out. I thought that might be a little bit aggressive.
He did nothing.
Yeah, just a little aggressive. So I think I'd tone that down. But I'm not positive. I think we kicked around going as like a Maverick Penny Benjamin situation. So I told Courtney, I was like, you look like old girl. Like, this would be perfect. We'll get you a little bomber jacket. You can go with me. Like, it's great. It's a win for the world. So that would be tremendous. But I want to start with this, the bye week. Like, so they're nursing some injuries.
Hey, by the way, and everybody wanted to know, nobody gave me
the folks. Like, you get like so close up to them. Like,
nobody. Well, I just got done getting super bumpy doing heavy dose squats. But I will say this: nobody threw out their comments of what I should be, and I'm not going to lie to you, Bob. I literally forgot that was this weekend, and I was trying to get home, and I was like, Steph, you can't move my flight. I think AJ's event is Friday night. And then she's like, no, it's Saturday. Yeah, you got to fly home Sunday. That's why we bought it, because it wasn't in our calendar because our life is so chaotic. So literally today on the drive in, I said, you know what I'm doing? I'm Cousin Eddie, but Schlegel style. So I'm like, she's online. She found like a women's bathrobe at Target and a belt. Yeah. And I already got like one of those floppy like hats like that, but it's from Rural King. So it doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going to wear my Rocky SV2 boots, right? So it's going to be super sassy. I think she got me like a medium large. I'm going to squeeze into that bad boy.
Yeah. Plus you got that plate in your head. So you kind of
it's already there.
Yeah.
I don't have a tube. I was thinking about getting like a pool noodle, but I think the costume serves itself.
All right. So listen, if you want to get out there, tweet at the show, at Bobby Carp Show, at Schlegel Valley, at BCarp3. Throw in there some costume ideas for us. Make sure that we have some good stuff. I mean, we got that obviously tomorrow night, but throw that in there. Schlegs can maybe get it on the ready. And Halloween's coming up, Schlegs, so you're going to have opportunity to go do that. Now, I want to get to some a little more press. Bye week. So I heard what they said Quinshon Junkins, it was reported, had like a hand procedure or something. He's not going to miss any time, but that may explain some of the lack of running with him in the second half. Obviously, you saw Justin Simmons go out, the knee injury that Ryan, I think, is alluding it's going to be a longer-term thing. And there's a good chance I don't think that he's going to be back this year based upon that. It didn't look great. But then we saw Will Kazmarek, who went down on his shoulder early in the game, didn't come back in. I think after the game, he had it in a sling. Like you could see him holding that thing gingerly. So shoulder, upper arm injury, something like that. And so I was in there today and I saw him walking around. I asked him, I go, who was your primary strength coach during the summer? He threw out a KP, Coach Kenny Parker, and KP goes, oh, no, that was your boy Schlegel-Valley. And I said, okay. And honestly, Dr. Stu and Barnhouse, Stu and Barney, in there said that the reason he hurt his shoulder was underdeveloped traps. And I look at one person here as responsible solely, Schlegs, to get him ready to go, and the Traposaurus couldn't get him ready to go. What are we doing?
Yeah, that's all fake news, everybody.
I don't think it is.
It is. Traps were developed. Hey, listen, we play a violent sport. It's a contact sport. Things happen, So poof, David Copperfield, he'll be back.
All right, I guess that is true. To get that rolling, but we've had a lot of.
Hey, listen. Here's the deal. I got really big traps. I got really strong shoulders, and guess what? I dislocated it tackling the dude. Right? I broke my lower back, Bob, made of steel. I mean, deadlift, RDL's 500 pounds, deadlift over 700 pounds. Guess what? Doesn't matter when you take a helmet to it and you break 3 processors. It just happens.
Kind of fell on that bad boy. Like I would have thought it would have been better. It's like you get some of those heavy shrugs, get them going, get them juiced up. How are we feeling though today?
495 is pretty heavy.
We've got a full week out. All right, we're going into the weekend.
Yeah.
Ohio State bye week. Do we feel in a better spot? Like we work through the stages of grief, understanding that like you can slip up and still slip in the college football playoff now. So like if we come to terms with everything, or are you good? Do you think Buckeye Nation, do you think like Ohio is good at large? I know we have a loud and vocal contingent that's like fire Ryan Day, which I'll get into more of that. I talked to our guy, Jeff Schwartz, who we had on before the Oregon game, who is in Oregon. He is a Oregon Duck alum, and talking to him about what he thought about the game, what he thought about Dan Lanning, his thoughts on Ryan Day. And so I'll share all of that a little bit later. And the fact being around the program, it befuddles me because someone goes, you haven't said anything negative ever. I go, oh no, I have. Like you go back and look at that 2021 Oregon game. You go look at the Michigan game in 2021. I was like, not tough enough. Need to be more physical against stopping the run. Changes need to be made on defense. Ryan Day made changes, obviously changed the coordinator, changed some stuff. So I thought they needed to hire James Laurinaitis. Like I thought that would be a home run. I'm not saying that I told them to do that, but there are things and times where you can be critical, but also understanding how stinking hard it is to be successful in high level college football and what that is like, and understanding that I was talking today that like of the 4 teams that I was on, the team at Ohio State, the team that won the national championship, I will always tell people was probably the 3rd best as far as talent. Won our games. You could our senior year in 05, Schlegs, like we lose to Texas at the end of the game. No one's saying that Tress can't big game coach because, we were rotating quarterbacks. We missed a field goal at the end. We dropped a touchdown pass. We blew a coverage on the back end because it was so loud. It's miscommunication between a 3rd-year starting safety and a 2-year starting corner. And they missed whether it's cover 2, cover 4 on the backside. What's the cloud support? What we were running, and so Lima Swede gets down the field and scores a touchdown. Like no one's saying that. He loses a close one at Penn State because offense was struggling. No one's saying Trust couldn't coach big games then. Like everybody, the revisionist history that goes on, and I love it because I've gotten to be a much better player since I've been done. Like the tackles you miss melt away, the bad plays you miss melt away. Like you just become a guy that it's a stat sheet and people only remember positive things. And so it's all good. But like there are issues with every coach that's been in Ohio State. Like it isn't just go undefeated every year, all sunshine and rainbows. There's always some negative elements to it. And so when I look at that, it's crazy to me to think that like just the revisionist history Schlegs that goes on with this. It's befuddling.
Well, I'm going to go back to your first question, and I love your rant. I'm going to go back to the first question as, do I feel better? And honestly, it's crazy. I hurt a little bit like after the game because of the guys, right? Like I hurt for them. Yeah. I know how much the coaches put in, but It's one of those things where I'm looking at, they can learn from these mistakes. The coaches can learn from their mistakes. And I'm telling you what, right now, like in the program, the mistake is not always on the guys, though the people look at the guys and they got to be held accountable 100% to do what's executed. But it all comes down to coaching in college football, more so than the NFL, right? So you got to coach them up because they can only play as fast as you have taught them to do. So there are things that need to get cleaned up. In that last situation, in Will, he's going to grow from it. And I don't like he made a terrible error. Like he's looking at the clock. He slid down. He thought he had a second left, call a timeout. Boom. But I always go back, even you talk about the Texas game and drop passes or blown coverages. Guys, in that game, there were opportunities for that Texas game. We had the ball inside their red zone 3 times and got 3 points. There were times in this game we had an opportunity to go up a score and, go and winning that 2-minute period or that 4-minute period before the half. And we came out and won the 4 minutes after the half. So you got to look at it in the totality as to how do you get in that situation before you start nitpicking, because that's what everybody likes to do. They like to nitpick and find these little things. I always just take things from a holistic view. What are the good things that we did? What are the negative things that we did? Can we clean those up? 100% believe that we can. And therefore, you got to go do that and be held accountable to adjust and be better moving into the remainder of the season. That's how I look at it. Feel very
absolutely,
good.
folks. And I got one tweet, folks. You want to stay tuned when we get to Tailgate Talk. And we may even do some tweets during headlines because they're so juicy. But I got one tweet that I never thought in a million years that I would see even after this game. We'll get to that later. But up next, we got our guy, Ben Hartsock. Before we get to that, I want to tell you about this. Parents, athletes, protect what matters most with X-Sport mouth guards. Trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists, X-Sport mouth guards are scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits to protect both your grill and your brain. X-Sport mouth guard, they've got 3 layers of custom protection, advanced protection, patented carbon fiber that they 3D print that bad boy so it fits your grill like a glove for better performance, max comfort, clear communication, so you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Go to exportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15%. Ben Hartsock coming up next.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages, because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Excited to be on here with our guy, Anthony Schlegel. And now pleased to welcome in former teammate of ours, Unionota High School alum, 10-year NFL vet, biochemistry major at Ohio State University, now using none of that and choosing to just let his brain rot and melt away. As you can hear him on Sirius XM, on Channel 84, on Big Ten channel, all across the world. Ben, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Pint of chiller coffee. Let's go.
Legs, are you mid-set? Like, are you mid-set right now?
No, I got done. I did a little bumpy heavy dose day. I had to doing a bunch of stuff. I was squatting probably 495 through bands. Felt pretty juicy. Now I'm here, right? I'm wearing. Hey, look, I'm wearing my Meatheads Radio, Sirius XM. That's for Hester out there. I love what you do, Ben. You sound great on the radio, by the way. I'm like, I know that guy. I'll be driving down the road. I know that guy. I played with that guy. Dropping nuggets like McDonald's.
Member of the 2002 National Championship team, biochemistry major at Ohio State, 10-year NFL vet, one of the most accomplished people you're going to find one fine human being as well.
Fired up, fired up. Did I miss? Did I just miss Schlegel? Is he done? Is he back to? Does he bat to deep squats?
Who knows? He comes and goes, Ben. He pops in and out. Like no one really knows what he's doing back there. You'll see him sometimes with chains lifting, and it's just always nonsense. But I want to get started with this. We were talking offline before. You said you were venturing around. You're at Georgia. Where else were you at? Did you see some of the differences everywhere?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at with Schlegel before he dropped. I have a buddy whose son is starting to go through the recruiting process. So I cruised around with them as they went and looked around Georgia, and then they went to Georgia Tech. And I get to go in a handful of facilities. With working in the media, we can go see these places, and I see differences everywhere. Like they're pretty much standard issue on every rack, on every cage across college and pro football. There's the difference everywhere. I mean, you're still in on that, right? Like you designed the next iteration.
Yeah. I mean, Schlegel is taking this thing to the next level. He keeps pushing. He wants to get some more tech behind it, like turn it into the Ivan Drago, like punch power, so you can see how much, the PSIs you're just punching through someone's chest.
When's it going to get AI? That's what I want to know.
We're fighting robots. I mean, why not we just put a difference on a robot and you're punching, you have to base block the robot, Ben. I mean, that's kind of where we're going. Before long, Ben, football will be played by machines, not even by men anymore. Like, because you can just replace their part on the sideline. Like, forget being hurt and being out. You can just be a guy that comes in and here, slides right in like Chris Collinsworth on whatever football he's on now, Sunday night, Monday night, sliding right in with Al Michaels, getting ready to go, or at least what he used to do. So Schlegel, there you go. Ben was just saying the differences are all over the place.
Yeah, they're at Georgia, they're at Georgia Tech, they're everywhere, Schlegel. I mean, what do I got to do? I get one for home use? What's the deal? I mean,
whatever you need, man. Charge it to win it, Ben. I got you, man. I always take care of our people. That matter of fact, the cool thing is I actually just got done. I got a new thing coming out, right? Because the game is changing. That's going to blow it up, right? So we're in like 125 Division I schools, and it does make me feel good, Ben, that when you go to these places, because you get to go to way more than I do, that you see them, people use them, and again, it's all about maximizing the athlete.
Are you at K-State? We interviewed Brendan Mott, who's leading the Big 12 in sacks, and I was asking him about some of his off-season work and which moves he likes to use, and he was all fired up about that. So I haven't been there to Manhattan, Kansas. Is K-State on the you got an account there yet, or do we need to break in?
I don't know. Hey man, we've been doing that for 9 years, right? Like I don't even know where they are. I just know like when they were gone. Like I just sold a bunch to the Redskins, like and the Ravens and whatever. Hey man, at the end of the day, just stacking vertical, counting sideways, Ben, at this point.
Killing it.
Absolutely. All right, so Ben, let's get down to some brass tacks here. I mean, anytime I was worried, I've told people this, when they expanded the playoff, I was worried the importance of the regular season wouldn't matter as much. And it maybe doesn't, because you can, I kind of coined this morning, you can still slip up and still slip in. Kind of like that mantra right there. It gives you a lot of imagery with it as well. But the fan base, even after a loss, Ben, like, I don't think they care about that. It still has that same visceral feeling. There's a lot of fire Ryan Day right now from like a small vocal minority of Buckeye fans. Now, you don't live in Columbus anymore. You live in Atlanta. And so you might have maybe a better perspective over this and kind of how this loss looks and how it feels.
Yeah, Facebook, of all the different social platforms, Facebook is the one where I'm still most connected with my Unionota brethren, my Ross County connection. And I will tell you, that was the most vocal, what are we doing? Here we are again. And so I think that, like you say, there are a vocal minority that feel that way about Ryan Day. And I know you guys feel the same way. That's just complete. It's ridiculous. Here's what I think maybe fans, especially Ohio State fans, need to realize. I'll never forget my rookie year with the Indianapolis Colts. I drafted to that team, and that team was stacked. I mean, they were Super Bowl contenders in the preseason. Think about it. Peyton Manning, Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, Sr., Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, Hall of Famers all over the place. And it took until week 12, 13 before we even lost that in that regular season. And I remember coming from college where, especially in the BCS era, you lose one, like drop those shoulders. That was it. Like I had that feeling. And I remember walking into the locker room the next day, that Monday after the first loss, and everybody's bebopping. Like it was just fine. Nobody was really like taking it the way that I was used to taking it. And it took veteran players being like, hey, dude, snap out of it. This is the NFL. You don't win every game in the NFL. The 72 Dolphins are still popping bottles every year. All of our goals are out in front of us still. It took me going through that experience the first time for me to recalibrate. And I think for Buckeye fans, this is the first time that they've had to go through and recalibrate to say, yeah, that loss stung. It stinks. It was a big game, big moment, and we didn't get the job done. But that has, like, none of our goals are eliminated by that outcome. It just, we used our mulligan. That's all.
So with that, like watching the game, and I know we're trying to turn the page. The best part is when you lose and you have a bye week, Ben, you get to live that thing for like a full week and a half. It's like a full 8 to 10 days. But watching that game, what were some things that stuck out to you about it?
Well, what stuck out to me is I thought, watching the speed, watching the matchup, I thought our team looked every bit as good, if not better. Like if I think our team looks fine. We didn't have structural deficiencies, like our backs can't hang, our O-line can't hang, or our secondary is getting exposed. No, I didn't see any of that. I saw critical moments that everybody always points to the last moment. Everybody's going to look to the 12-man penalty and the way that all shaked out. But I look at I wrote it down, several moments in that game. Any one of these could be a reason when margins are thin, like you say in the NFL, like the margins are thin. This is closer to an NFL game. Margins are thin. Quinshon Judkins fumble in the first half. Will Howard fumbled snap right between his hands, killed a drive. 2 drives late in the game start with false starts, and so you're 1st and 15 to start a drive. The Dylan Gabriel touchdown where JT Tuimoloau takes the running back and doesn't read the mesh of the zone read option. The OPI is one that everybody points to. There was a mismanagement of the clock before the 12-man penalty. Yeah. There was 6 seconds that rolled off the clock where Will Howard was trying to get the guys going, and they after the OPI. They start the clock didn't start on the snap. The clock sounded on the whistle. 6 seconds roll off the clock. Like that one singular moment at the end of the game before the 12-man penalty, Will Howard gets down, gets a timeout with 6 more seconds on the clock. We kick the field goal and we win. So any one of those, what is that? That's 6 specific things that in a tight game with a good opponent is enough to lose it for you. And we had 6 of them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and then I always go back to still 1-point game, and Oregon could have said they had some things, right? You got a missed field goal that you push wide right. They had some other, box extra point, which again, we take that, run it to the house. Lathan did a good job, but like great effort on that guy. Like that's an effort play that saved the game for them, right? When it all boils down to it. So one thing that we've heard too, college football now is absolutely crazy because we're getting a lot more good on good, which I absolutely love. To your point, Ben, so who really are the elite teams? Because there's a lot of big-time games coming up, over the next month of good versus good. Teams getting in with 2-3 losses, potential champions with 2 losses, right? Like, it's crazy. So who right now, of all the teams that you see, like, who's your elite teams right now?
Yeah, it's tough, Schlegs, because 3 weeks ago, I would have said Tennessee looks absolutely elite, even though they're new to the club, but now they took their loss. A couple of weeks ago, I would have said Alabama, but they took their lump from Vandy. And so because of the blending, I think, of the upper tier, like I'm working some theories that my hypothesis is looking a little weak. Like it's wild right now that we sit here and you've got programs like Indiana still undefeated. Pitt is still undefeated. And Iowa State is undefeated. And do I think that they're better than Ohio State or Oregon? No, but they sit there like it's week 8 and those are your records. So you wear it and you own it. Who do I think is elite? I looking here at the AP top 25, Texas, obviously, yes. Oregon, Penn State, Ohio State, Georgia to me has you got to answer for those, not just not just the loss to Bama, because that was a big opponent, but looking, Mississippi State shouldn't be able to push you to the wire the way that they did. Alabama took the loss to Vandy, obviously, and then South Carolina was pushing them all the way to the end. So I think you can make very real arguments to get all the way down to 7 or 8, which it loops in Miami and Alabama. But then you've got to squint and say, well, what about LSU? Well, LSU's looked good, but they've not. Ultimately, what I think the conclusion is it this iteration of the season that these rosters are more competitive, deeper? Or I think this is where I land or because we have a 12-team field, we're looking more into the 10, 12 teens to say, yeah, these teams are legitimate or not legitimate. Our standard of legitimate is different. If we were looking at this in a top 4 circumstance, it's Texas, Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State right now. That's it, because you look at Georgia and say, well, they've looked questionable against inferior opponents, not just the loss to Bama, inferior opponents. Miami took 2 controversial end of game referee decisions for them to stay undefeated at this season. LSU, like I said, a couple times this season took the loss to USC early in the year, and then has played with its food in multiple games at this point. So I don't know that it's a different distribution of talent as opposed to it's us recalibrating how we look at what is good and not good in a 12-team versus a 4-team format.
Yeah, and trying to figure that out. It's been very interesting, Ben, like you said, just trying to understand all the movement from these different teams and what they ultimately look like. Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. Back with more Ben Hartsock after this.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
They're off in the Kentucky Derby as Authentic takes them around the far turn. Tis the Laws making his move now, and they're into the stretch. These two stride for stride. Authentic, tis the Law. Here's the wire. Authentic has won the Kentucky Derby.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Welcome back in the show. Still with our guy, Ben Hartsock here, doing a great job at breaking some things down and trying to understand what this college football season is and what it ultimately looks like. You said you had some working theories, some hypothesis, some hypothesi. I'm not sure if there's multiple in there.
About plural of hypothesis.
Yeah, you're the scientist, Ben. I mean, you had classes, didn't they? You have to have multiple for your bio and your chemistry and all the science you took at Ohio State. So
the theory that I was working on through the Vandy upset of Bama was we had seen some what we would deem as upsets. Group of 5 beating Power 4. You had UNLV over Kansas, Memphis over Florida State, Georgia State over Vandy, Toledo over Mississippi State, James Madison over UNC. My theory off of that was being bottom half of the Power 4 was the area between Group of 5 and bottom of Power 4. So thinking about Vandy or Maryland versus comparing that to Memphis or Georgia State or JMU. That my theory was those two, because they're both getting plucked. I think I've said this with you, Bobby. 43% of all conference players in the MAC last year transferred up. Curtis Rourke at Indiana being the shining example of that. So we knew Group of 5 had been plucked. I was also theorizing, when we know this, it's real. Indiana's best players, Purdue's best players, Maryland's best players are playing at Alabama. They're playing at Michigan. They're playing at Texas A&M. So my theory was the talent at the top half, the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Penn States, the Clemsons, they're getting even more consolidation of talent in that population. Whereas then the outcome was the bottom half of the Power Four and the Group of Five were getting blended. That was my working theory. Well, then you had a bunch of bottom half Power Four programs beat the front runners. You know, Tennessee took one to Arkansas, and Kansas State and Missouri went down to Kentucky. Ole Miss went down to Kentucky. Like there was a bunch of those that kind of blew up my theory in real time. Vandy beating Alabama being the greatest of that. So I think that hypothesis is a little shaky at this point. But I think the thing that I'm most confident or I believe in though the most, The Athletic wrote about this a week ago. If you look at upsets where it's not like it's not Vandy all over Alabama. That's App State, Michigan kind of stuff. I'm talking those just kind of normal upsets that happen over the course of the year. They're happening at a normal rate. It's not more than previous years. You know, thinking about Arkansas taking down Tennessee, that kind of stuff. Ole Miss losing to Kentucky. Those things have happened at a normal rate this year compared to last, but we are paying more attention to them now. I think it goes back to our perception, and because of the 12-team format, we're looking more at. I don't think we would make as big of a deal of an 11th or 12th ranked Ole Miss team going down at this point during the season, but now that has bigger consequences because it puts them outside of the bubble.
I like your hypothesis. I also think the portal, the transfers, you're seeing it in a multitude of ways, right? You have Iowa State veteran teams. Right, early in the year, you had Georgia Tech, right, like a veteran team. You have Army-Navy, veteran team, 6-0, undefeated for the first time in a long time. But I think you got more parity because of the portal when done right that fits your culture that still has an impact in college football. Ben, going this week now coming up, you got Texas, Georgia, LSU, Arkansas, you know, Nebraska, Indiana, that's a huge one. Michigan, Illinois. What are you looking at this weekend, and how does that sift out in the college football landscape?
Well, Nebraska, Indiana is like it's incredible circumstances that the Big Noon show and the Big Noon kickoff is in Bloomington. It's in Bloomington. It's in all of my years of playing and covering the game, Indiana hasn't sat here. Like I think Bobby said, like it's been since '67 that they were ranked this high, that they were undefeated at this point. And so, and they're at home and they're favored against Nebraska it's just massive to me. And it's 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘. It is. I've been paying my penance. I was dead wrong during the preseason previews.
Hey, Google me, Ben. Google me.
Right. I heard it. I did my Big Ten preview on the Big Ten channel. And, you know, the big tagline for Cignetti, never been a head coach. He's never had a losing record as a head coach. And my snarky response was, welcome to Indiana, my man. Welcome to Indiana. You're going to take that losing season this year. And I was dead wrong. So I'm trying to get back on the right side of history. I don't want to be on the wrong side of 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 in this thing. I'm course correcting. But that's a massive game. And it's a great point to Indiana isn't a non-transfer team. Curtis Rourke, their best player on their team, is a transfer. So like they're doing it and they're doing it right. And Schleg's like, what you're getting at, I want to live in a world where grit can win at the highest level. Like I want to live there. Dan Campbell, when he took over at Detroit a couple years ago, I felt for the man. Like I wanted to, and they're having success. Now it's different because he's getting ballers. It's not like DeAndre Swift is a bum or, you know, like they got dudes up there. But that style, I want to live in a world where Army and Navy in the top 25 is not like outlandish, or a guy like 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 that is holding the high standard of like dudes and like playing with elbows out and playing like, you know how Indiana plays? Gravel. Like it's like a football team personified by gravel. That's what I want them to be. They're efficient, they're mean, they're gritty, they're hard-nosed, they're out there. I want to believe that. Iowa State with Matt Campbell. I want to live in a world where that team can compete. Now, can they get to the playoff? Yeah, some of those teams are going to get there, and I love it. Can they get to the end? Can they get to the Final Four? I don't think so. That's what'll be interesting. Let's say we're 5 years into this and we get a Kansas State, an Iowa State, an Indiana, a Nebraska get in there. Are we as collective fans going to be okay with participation trophies? or do we want these teams to not only be able to get into the tournament, but actually get to the Final Four?
Before we get out of here, Ben, is the era of the undefeated national champ over? Do you think that you will see anyone go 16-0 in this current format?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I know we're adding games.
They're adding quality games too. Like, that's the other thing. I mean, Georgia didn't play Texas. Ohio State wasn't playing Oregon on a regular basis before.
Yeah, but as we consolidate these conferences, if you're scheduling conferences, non-conference right now, you stop scheduling challenging non-conference. You need to do cupcakes so that you can survive your regular season. Like, how that's all going to play itself out still has to be determined. But why I think that maybe the frequency will change, I don't know that it's ever been that frequent. So I think it will happen because there's still such a wide net between best and worst that when you're talking about a population of football teams there's 11,000, 12,000 guys, and that amount of quality, or that spread of good to not good, there's just chance for anarchy. When you're talking about the NFL, you're only talking about 1,500 guys, 1,500 of the best of the best of the best. That margin of best to worst is tight. When you're talking about college, you're talking about 11, 12,000 young men that are playing it. I still think that there will be the teams that get it right and run all the way through with that much spread.
All right, Ben. Well, hey, we appreciate it, man. That's a lot of great stuff. Look forward to talking to you here on XM. After this, rest of those vocal cords, maybe get some hot tea, and we'll see you again soon.
Chamomile, boys. Good talking to you. See you in a few weeks.
See you, buddy.
Thank you. That was Ben Hartsock, Buckeye alum. Does a great job. Sirius XM, you can hear him, 84, Big Ten channel as well. Doing a great job. You got a lot of things there, Schlegs. We got our headlines coming up next, but in our headlines, we're going to get some of these tweets. There's some great mean tweets I was firing away. I want you to take a look at them. We'll throw some of them up there. I was fired up yesterday, and then we've got one that we'll lead with this, the most unexpected tweet I thought I would ever see following this loss. Came off the top ropes. Check it out next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Our guy Ben was kind enough to join us. So make sure you check his stuff out. All right, if you want to throw this tweet up there, it's the one reason I didn't think that Ohio State potentially lost, and it was the most unlikely tweet that I thought I would see. And it said the Bucs would have won if Kyle McCord was playing quarterback. I don't think that anywhere on my bingo card was that going to be the solution for the win in the game. But you let me know, Schlegs. Was that the right answer?
No, I first of all, I think both parties.
I love Kyle. I think he's doing a great job.
No doubt. I think both parties came out. Like, we go back. Again, I'm not pulling up my sheet to go back over his stat line, but the dude had 3 total touchdowns, 2 passing, no interceptions, threw for 326. You would have thought we won the game. If that's what, like, if you're like, hey, Kyle McCord, Will Howard goes out, throws for 326, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, rushing touchdown, we win. You would have said, absolutely, let's take that. So that's how I look at it. The answer is no, that would have been false, because I think that Will adds the run element and the ability to get first downs. He's, I think he's done a phenomenal job. I think he's going to learn from this game and just become better. Like I absolutely love Will as a leader. Those guys love Will as a leader. I've seen it personally, and I watched it on the field. Like they believe in him, and they were marching down the field right into a position to go win a football game. It just didn't work out in this one particular game. More to come.
I know. Believe me.
And that's why, again, I think the difference between you and me, Bob, and probably just a general fan is life experiences. I mean, you're in a lot of businesses. I'm in a lot of businesses. Like stuff just doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, right? Do we sometimes overestimate how fast we can get things done or how good we're going to perform? 100%. But you can see it at a 30,000-foot view that you're on the right trajectory to make big things happen. And I think that's where we are at Ohio State. That doesn't mean you don't go get in the weeds of the financials, right? And see and validate that ops and sales and marketing are working. That's business. We do the same thing. I just equate it to defensively, where can we get better? Offensively, where can we get better? Special teams, people make great points out there talking about punt return and the kick return game. I totally get it. It kind of sucks that they kick it into the end zone all the time, and we're 133rd in the country in that. I didn't even know there was 133 teams. I thought there was 132. I need to go back and look. But could there be yards that we could get from it? Yeah, that all has to be looked at to allow you to have a competitive advantage and coach the absolute shit out of it. So I like it. I like that people are juiced about it. But I think that you and I, having played it, I having coached it, we just see things in a different lens.
Yeah, I get it, Schlegel. We're looking at all these different things out there.
I like it. I love the interaction. Yay.
I know it's a lot.
Great. You guys are amazing.
It's a lot. Listen, we'll get to tailgate talk. We'll get to more of them here after this. But first, I'll let you know about Affinity Whole Health. They sponsor our headlines. They do a great job. I've been a patient of them for years, folks. So regardless, you may be going through some things, whether you don't have the juice that you used to, you don't feel like you have muscle loss, you're not sleeping as well, you just don't feel generally as healthy as you used to, go see my folks at Affinity Whole Health. They'll put together a plan. They're going to evaluate where you're at. What are your goals? You want to gain some weight, you want to lose some fat, you want to get feeling better, get the energy up. They'll customize a plan to fit your needs. You can check all the boxes, figure it all out. They're going to do a body workup on you, and then they're going to send the treatment protocol right to your home so you can administer your treatment at the house. You don't have to go to the doctor because, frankly, the reason why I went in there, I needed more time. I had to need more energy. I needed to be more efficient, more productive, and Affinity helped me do that. They've got offices in Columbus, Cleveland, Indianapolis, Chicago. They're everywhere. So go check them out, and check them out first at affinityWholeHealth.com for your free consultation. That's affinityWholeHealth.com. More tailgate talk coming up next with your tweets on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories, and bring your truck to life. RealTruck.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
All right, Schlegs. Tailgate Talk is brought to you by our friends over at RealTruck, the #1 truck accessory brand in the United States. And if you go to RealTruck and you want to say, hey, holidays are around here, maybe I want to get some stuff for myself like Schlegs. I'm a selfish beast and say I want to trick my truck out, my Jeep, my Bronco. You go there, you spend $100. At the end, you use promo code Bobby. You know what they're going to do? Boom, they're going to throw in a free RealTruck hat, and they're sweet. They got all kinds of stuff there, interior goodies, exterior goodies. Whether it's maybe for yourself, your spouse, your kids, whatever it might be, go check out RealTruck.com. Promo code Bobby. Get that free hat when you spend $100 or more. All right, Schlegs. Listen, fire some stuff away at 𝗟𝗩𝗘, at Schlegel Valley, at Bobby Carp Show. Put stuff in the comments here. Like, subscribe. We're going to keep firing away. And we got getting some nice stuff yesterday, Schlegs, with Joseph Schwartz. And we'll go to the first one. And we'll ask
We appreciate you, Joseph.
I know there was a lot of stuff there. If I may, just a point blank question. Is Ryan Day, in your opinion, an elite natty winning level head coach? Fair question. P.S. And this goes back to another one with regard to Oregon and Dan Lanning. So we'll get into some of his other tweets and other stuff that was coming through because he had a lot of fire. And I like that. I like the passion coming there. So like, there's three coaches that are currently coaching in college football that have won national championship. Kirby Smart has won 2. Dabo Swinney's won 2. Mac Brown has won 1. He's like 80. Dabo Swinney doesn't really play in the portal and NIL. Although his team's playing well right now, I don't really think a national championship contender. And as good as Kirby Smart is, like if they lose one more this week against Texas, like they could be in trouble in fear of maybe not making the CFP this year. And by the way, he's 1-7 against Alabama. But is Ryan Day, in your mind, in your evaluation of him, an elite coach capable of winning a national championship?
It said, P.S. I think Oregon State is Oregon's biggest rival, pointing to Lanning going 0-3
we'll get to that in another tweet.
Oh, that's the next one. I thought. Oh yeah. So yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think that Ryan is a natty winning level head coach. I've seen all the things that he's done. I've seen the talent that he's been able to put on the field. I do believe that
you go around and you've gotten to see other teams work out in the offseason. You take the difference there. You've got to do a different stuff. You've worked in this program under Urban and under Ryan. So you are a guy who really is uniquely qualified to answer this question, maybe even more so than me.
Well, guys, I mean, and that's Bob, I've been in the NFL and I've seen I've played in college and been around Tress as our coach, right? National champion, won a national championship with Urban Meyer. Do I see the same qualities in Ryan Day that I see in those two? The answer is 100% yes, but he's just authentically Ryan. And I think that we at Ohio State in this microcosm of winning every single year sometimes forget that the guy is doing all the right things to do it. We have to win those games. And again, that's what everybody's going back and look at. Kirby just didn't all of a sudden wake up and Georgia won 2 national championships. That was a work in progress. And then they went back to back and missed it by 1 the following year. So I think he is an elite national championship winning caliber football coach. Yes.
Okay, good. Because
you want to know why I say that too, Bob? And here's another thing. People throw out the word culture.
There's only 3 guys, Schlegs, that have actually proven it. The rest, everyone else is just speculation at this point.
Exactly. So and here's the other thing too. When you have a group of guys, the way that we did, that could have went out early, that wanted to come back for unfinished business, that goes back to the hardest thing in today's college football age, and that is culture and relationship. Because relationships, right? Like Tress always said it, they never care about how much you know till I know how much you care, and Ryan cares deeply. That's why all those guys came back. They came back for their teammates. They came back for their coaches. Does NIL play a role in it? 100% it is. It's just a part of the pie, but it's not the biggest part of the pie. That's the point, right? So he got them it's a slice of the pie, but they came back for all the right reasons, in my honest opinion, having been there.
And I talked to Jeff Schwartz, who we've had on the show, who talked about this a lot. And I talked to him yesterday because he goes, Dan Lanning, he's an Oregon alum, said Dan Lanning needed that win more than anything. And that was the second part of that tweet that was going back and forth, was the fact that Dan Lanning is 0-3 against Washington. And he tried to tell me that Oregon State is their biggest rival, where I went straight to the horse's mouth with Jeff Schwartz, who played there. He goes, I feel like Oregon State is a little Michigan State-esque, where it's probably a bigger rival for Oregon State. And he goes, that's a great way to put it. Because Dan Lanning, he's been here 3 years. He hadn't won really any big games. He's 0-3 in his biggest, and people question him going for it on 4th down and this and that. He came up, he won a big game. He goes, it sucks that someone had to lose. It was a great game. There was mistakes on both sides. It came like that. It just stinks that that we're not going to play next year. I wish that game was an every year game now. It'd be a great rivalry. All right, we're going to go, Pat. I'm going to skip the second one. We're going to go to the last tweet and from our guy, Joseph Schwartz, who's throwing out there. I think this is it.
Coat of many colors.
So he said, I'll ask rather than assume, do you believe Coach Day has been elite at staff hiring? Do you believe he's an elite in-game manager, particularly clock and timeout management? Do you believe no tackling approach of Coach Day has helped our defense as well? So I'll say this. They do tackle in practice some. You have to, but it's a different era now a little bit with how they tackle and what they do. If you want to be critical, like the one major part that I can provide criticism for in that game was the inability to handle the clock management after the OPI when it restarted. You know, Chip Kelly's calling plays, Ryan's on the sideline. Like, you've got to identify that and either A, spike it, B, have a play ready, and you can't be complaining about the call. It's on to the next and try to figure that out. Not that Ryan was, but like seconds ran off. And all you needed, as Ben said, if you could peel back a couple of those seconds, then all of a sudden it works and everything is good. And so that is a critical error that needed to be addressed, that needs to be figured out. And you know what? I think moving forward it will be, because I don't really see Ryan make the same mistake twice on a lot of these things. But staff hiring, really good stuff. I think the staff is
home run.
He brought in James Laurinaitis this year. Great. Brought in Chip Kelly. Great. Like, it's hard. It's hard to get an elite staff to be able to do that. I think he's done a good job. A lot of people have talked about the rub Schlegs on the defensive side, potentially between defensive line and Larry Johnson and Jim Knowles, and how that's working. Kind of your thoughts on that before we get out of here. You got about 30 seconds before we get
here. I got 30 seconds. I don't know if there is, but if there is, it's got to be addressed. That starts with the defensive coordinator, because you run the show, and that also stems from the head coach backing you because you run the show, and I hired you to run the show. So again, that's just sit down, a conversation, boom, lock them in a box, figure it out. Do I know if that's going on? 100% I don't. Right? But if it is, it has to be addressed. Yeah. It has to be addressed now.
All right. Coming up next, wrap the show. Dude of the week.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories, and bring your truck to life. RealTruck.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Great show today, Schlegs. We're back live, 12:30 Monday, Buckeye Week, Game Week, Nebraska. Time for Dude of the Week. Tribe last night, Schlegs. We're up 3-1. Hand the ball off to Class A. Oh, my gosh. I was hurting. When Judge hit the first, I'm like, oh, no. They give up the second. I'm throwing up.
Boom.
And then our guy, David Fry. I couldn't even watch extra innings. But it's a Friday. We're going to celebrate our guy, David Fry, hitting the walk-off jack, which I don't know if there's any better way to win in sports.
Yeah, I had John Kensey, who's the one that sent him into extra innings. But I love, there's a tweet out there, really somebody filming it from outside. You can just hear the crack of the bat. Yeah. And everybody erupt and the fireworks go up. And then, of course, everybody puts stuff to Celine Dion, which is even amazing in and of itself with the call. So, I mean, again, but John, he did it with 2 outs in the ninth. Like, honestly, can you ask for anything better? And in extra innings, there's not a guy on second. They get to the bottom of the 10th. Boom, poof, David Copperfield, game over. Guardians win.
Guards win. All right, big week. A lot of stuff going on. Nebraska next week. Big noon kick. Going to be exciting. Stay locked in. Tune in Monday, 12:30. Bobby Carpenter Show, and we'll get you ready to go.